This is the review of an entire pre-calculus course review. So in this review, we're going to study these four main topics. We're going to talk about what is the meaning of a function. We know that the function is not just a mapping or a relation, so there are special properties for a relation to satisfy to become it a function. And then we talk about the domain of a function. We talk about polynomials, type 1 radicals, type 2 radicals, and rational functions. Even under rational function, we also talk about type 1 reciprocal function, type 2 reciprocal functions. And then we talk about the library of functions, including 12 forms of linear equations and all the other types, rational, polynomial, absolute value functions, and all that. And then the other major topic is the transformation techniques. So that's something pre-calculus students need to know. So we can talk about that in this. So these are the questions we can study through this one. So the first question is asking, test whether the following represent a function. So there are several ways to represent a function. So these are kind of situations that we have. We have mappings, and then sometimes we can represent a function as tables, and also sometimes we can write them as equations. And another method is we can represent functions as ordered pairs. So we can see how we know whether this is a representative of a function. And in question number 2, we can evaluate functions. So how to evaluate a function? So what we normally call a plug in a value. But you cannot just plug in values, because you want to make sure that those values are valid. We're going to get something valid. So and also we're going to do something like evaluate like x plus h kind of terms. Those are useful in a future topic, what we normally call the difference quotient. So we're going to do like evaluating here. And then this question number 3 is like especially about difference quotients. So there are like about 4 major types, or you can break it down to 3 types, like a linear, quadratic, and then we have root, like square root, and then rational functions. So here we do the 3 types: linear, root, and reciprocal functions. But you can find the other ones in the main video about the difference quotient. So we talk about several different examples there. So you can find the link in the description. In question number 4, we're going to spend time for how to find the domain of a function. So that is a major topic in pre-calculus, because there are different type of functions like polynomials, what we normally call the most innocent function, because you can plug in anything. And then we have type 1 and type 2 radicals. So this is a type 1 radical and it's a type 2 radical, where they behave completely different. And then we have square root functions. So these are square root functions. And then rational functions. And then like a what we normally call the complex rational functions. So you can see we have like a square root and also a rational function. So we're gonna learn how to find the domain of function like that. And question number 5 is about algebra of functions. Like if you are given 2 functions, you can do a lot of things, like you can add them, subtract them, you can multiply, you can divide, so things like that. So we also find the expression for that, and also the domain of those. And then we evaluate a few of them if possible. And question number 6 is about how to algebraically find whether a function is even or odd. So we're going to do 3 examples like that, and then in the next problem we're going to find zeros and also the x and y-intercept. So we can talk about theories about that. In question number 8, which is about solving several inequalities. So this is like just the basic inequalities, and there's a separate in a separate review we do like a bunch of inequalities, like all different types. So like linear, quadratic, rational, and all types. So that's like separate, but this is just the basics of that. So we'll talk about some theories here. And in question number 9 is the average rate of change. So that's like another major topic in calculus. So we're going to talk about the basics here. So we can use the average rate of change formula, and we plug in and we're going to evaluate in certain intervals and what is the average rate of change. So question number 10 is about, if you are given a function, how to find where it is increasing and where it is decreasing, and then what are the local and absolute maxima and minima. So what are the local maximum minimum? Local maximum minimum, normally we see like the peaks and valleys. Absolute maximum is what's the largest and the smallest value. So it's absolute values. Sometimes it exists, sometimes it doesn't exist. And also local maximum minimum have some issues sometimes. Like for example, if you look at this part, so there are confusions. Like you can see at that point, like in part A, so those points are both local maximum and minimum. So it's kind of because that's what the definition says. So we can talk about that, how it become a local maximum and minimum both at the same time. And then also you can find what values they have the maximum and minimum. So it's an interesting question. Question number 11 is about graphing linear equations. That's the easy one. So we can talk about how to graph a linear equation. We can talk about several different techniques. The easiest way is you're going to find 2 points and then connect the points, just for a line you just need 2 points. So you you find 2 points and connect the 2 dots. You get the graph of the uh, equation. And then we also talk about some other techniques. For example, like for example, let's say this problem. So you can also use the slope intercept argument to graph a function. So we can talk about that. And then we have some special lines, like for example, the horizontal line and vertical lines. That's about this question. Question number 12 is about piecewise function. That's another very important topic in pre-calculus. So we have one has 2 branches. The part B has 3 branches, and we can talk about how to graph this properly, and also how to evaluate those functions along with the domain and the range. So we can ask those questions. We can answer those questions in question number 12. And question number 13 is about transformation techniques. So in these transformation techniques, we can talk about those library of functions, and then after the library of function, how to use those transformation techniques to graph these 5 functions. You can see that there are root, polynomial types, and absolute value functions, rational functions. Again, like another polynomial, but this is a cube. So we can talk about all these types in this review. And then you can find the link in the description for other parts, like part 2, part 3, part 4, and part 5 in the description. Thank you.